Ooh, one sec. Go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the German Football Fan Club. We're back after 2 weeks away due to the international break. Back with Bundesliga football. A little bit later, we'll also be catching up with some championship football as well. Leverkusen hosting Frankfurt, and in about half an hour, we have Ipswich Town hosting Sheffield United from the championship. Everything ready to go. Right. Teams in the tunnel ready to go. Uh, Hear the Bayer Leverkusen anthem. Underway in Leverkusen. Frankfurt kick us off in the white going right to left. Leverkusen in the black and red going left to right. You want to keep an eye on the fans. Leverkusen have their ultras on the curva to the left behind the goal. Frankfurt's significant, tremendous traveling support would be in the near right-hand corner. That's where the guest block is at Leverkusen's arena. Been running. Eintracht Frankfurt fans, the ones being the more vocal so far. Here, Eintracht Frankfurt, ale ale. Also the ones starting strong. First attack in the first minute here. Leverkusen's first match since sacking their coach Eric Ten Hag after just 2 Bundesliga games. Timer up and running. Hey, Travis Grooms, how you doing today? Good to see someone in the chat. Are you a fan of one of these teams or just enjoying the football this evening? Ooh, man, tough for Leverkusen. They got an injury already. I'm doing good. I'm glad to have someone here in the stream to chat with. All fans welcome. Good to see some English fans here checking out the Bundesliga. Really glad the international break is over as well. That was a long 2 weeks without club football. It's tough when the season starts and then get all get all hyped for the new season and then immediately straight into the international break. It's not a serious issue for Palacios, at least. Who's my club? My club is actually Union Berlin. They'll be playing tomorrow in the early games. But I'm just generally a huge German football fan and just a huge football fan. Yeah, exactly right. Especially after waiting all summer. You wait months and months, and then it's like, oh, the club season's finally back, and then right into the international break. Well, being an Arsenal fan, are you sort of like new to the Bundesliga, just checking out this year, or do you sort of are you a regular of non-English football as well? There we go. First chance for Leverkusen to get out of their own end. Pretty much the whole 6.5 minutes so far. And another injury. Oh, man. That's fair. I imagine as an Arsenal fan, it's following Arsenal and following English football is probably a lot all on its own. But it's good to hear that you've followed Dortmund for quite a bit. Is that you sort of consider them your German team, or just sort of they're just the most interesting for you to watch, or anything else too? I mean, they have a great atmosphere and great fans, great stadium. They're just a lot of fun to watch, even if you take the team and the talent out of it. Man, players just dropping like flies. Ah, solid. That's solid. It's good. I mean, it's good to have. I know there's some people who are kind of like, if you have a team, you shouldn't really support any other teams at all. But like, I'm the same. Like, I'm an Union Berlin fan, and like, I'd always take them over anyone else. But there's other teams in the Bundesliga I like, and there's basically like a team in every league that I follow. Funny enough, actually, England probably being the one exception. I've liked or sort of like followed English teams at various times, but like none of them really quite grabbed me enough to settle on one team that I in England that I like to watch, which is kind of nice because England is a really competitive league, so it's good to be able to just enjoy whatever the best matchups that are available are. Aldo. Oh man. Grimaldo doing Grimaldo things. All that pressure from Frankfurt to start the game, and one attack for Leverkusen. All Grimaldo needs, though. Although I wonder, I guess it's probably going to be technically an own goal. Wow, what a striker of the ball, though. Holy moly. Oh, bad luck. I'm not one for all of the talent being drained out of the Bundesliga, but I'm genuinely surprised that no one came to take Grimaldo. Or I mean, maybe he didn't want to leave, but the the way he hits the ball is amazing. He's got such an incredible left foot, especially from dead ball situations. I mean, any team would be way better. Like it would be such a gift to any team to have him on set pieces, but like even just for hitting crosses and stuff like that, Grimaldo is just amazing. And I guess they'll actually give him the goal too. It seems like it's kind of like in a sense a textbook own goal, but it's nicer to give it to the player because that it was worthy of him getting credit for that one. Left the keeper with no chance. Just what Leverkusen needed. That's with how things were going with Ten Hag and with even how things were going in this game. That was just really pinned back to start, and then bang, they have the goal, they have the lead. If there's any other team than Bayern who would be the best bet to overcome an early deficit, it'd definitely be Frankfurt this season, though. Lots and lots of goals. It'll be interesting to see too, because I don't really know what Gilman, what his tactics are. It looks like he's going. Well, I will admit I do. The one team that I have a keen interest in England is Manchester United, but not as a fan. Um, as a dumpster fire watcher, I am very interested in Manchester United. So I would tend to agree. Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised how good they have looked, given that a lot of their really marquee players moved in the summer, but they did some really smart transfer business, like Ritsu Duan from bringing him in from Freiburg. Um, Gosh, now off the top of my head, I'm not going to remember any of their other transfer business. But they've definitely filled the gaps well, and they're especially looking strong up front. They've been putting in goals for fun so far. It is. It is fun to watch them struggle. It's like it's almost hard to believe. When they got Amram, I don't even know why, but I was just like, oh, well, I don't know. You know, City wanted him or whatever. I assume he's going to improve them, and then they plummeted to like all-time lows. So just the gift that keeps on giving in watching Man United, and then it's like just the cherry on top. We got Grimsby. That's honestly that's probably my main interest in watching the Premier League is like I watch almost every Man United game to see, like what fresh calamity will befall them. I was watching German Cup matches that day, but I had them on sort of in the background for one of my stream. Like I was doing a watch along that day, and it just became more and more a Grimsby Man United watch along, even though it was supposed to be German football forward. I was like, nah, this is the best thing that's happening tonight. This is one for the ages. Awesome, yeah. It should be an interesting season for them. For Union Berlin, they did some good business, but they also left some kind of gaps in their team, and it's tough because they have an identity in the way that they play and stuff. Like it's basically they can't get away from the 5-3-2 that brought them to the Bundesliga under Urs Fischer. But it's going to be hard to see where the goals are necessarily going to come from. The goal again. What a strike. Should be a good opportunity for Union Berlin, though, tomorrow. Hoffenheim started the season pretty strong, but if there's a game that Union should have a hope of winning, it would definitely be Hoffenheim at home. Oh, here comes Leverkusen again. Oh, oh, that would have been a beauty. Shifted that into space really well. I have high hopes for Burke. He's like a very sort of quintessentially Union player. He's got good pace, but he's also pretty big and strong and a decent finisher, but seems to mostly be coming off the bench so far. And wouldn't it be something if they grab another Frankfurt pinning them back again, and now they could win one second trip up the field and another dangerous set piece here. Wow. That was lucky. That had gone basically anywhere than directly into the goalkeeper's chest. That seems a bit harsh. We'll see. What do you think? Yellow card? I don't follow Wrexham. I am I was interested in the show, but I never was able to I wasn't able to watch it, and then it kind of got away from me a little bit. I'm really intrigued though, because funny enough, as Manchester United show, money doesn't buy you success. So I'm actually really impressed that despite, because a lot of people are like, well, they had the money pumped in, of course they're gonna progress quickly or whatever, but I'm actually really genuinely impressed that they've been able to turn solid investment into actual solid results. That's my cue to get Ipswich Town up and running. What do you think of Wrexham and their rise? Also the show, because like I do really like the sort of like the follow a team football documentaries. I'd be curious if you've watched it, what your thoughts on the show are. First team, wow. That is, I mean, I guess that makes sense because like obviously the Premier League is the biggest league, but it is given how competitive the lower divisions in England are, that is really impressive feat now that you mention it. Makes me want to check into them more. That's super cool. Awesome. I will definitely add that to my watch list because I especially like that. Uh, that's a lot about the people of the town too. Hey Sky, how you doing? Frank for Frankfurt. Well, Frankfurt started so well, but they're looking a little bit shaky in transition here. That was sloppy. Yeah, Travis, I like that. I like if they talk about the people of the town and the community, like that is absolutely my vibe. I would love to hear the whole story of Wrexham and like what it means to the community for the club to be, I mean, just absolutely flying these days. Hey Sky, who's your team? Are you a supporter of either of these teams or just stopping in watching the football? I assume if you're praying for Frankfurt, you're probably not necessarily a Frankfurt fan per se, but maybe a Frankfurt sympathizer. Man, Frankfurt, they look decent in possession, but they look really all over the place at the back. And ooh. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in Ipswich for the game. Now that he's one of the three recently unemployed Manchester United managers, former Manchester United managers. I imagine Frankfurt are probably even, I mean, extra shaky at the moment, having already lost one of their starting center backs. I do have multiple monitors, but I have them side by side on one, and then I have like directly in front of me I have both games, and then down to my right I have like my YouTube stuff, my chat, and all of that, and then my second monitor above my camera I have my like OBS streaming stuff or whatever. I used to I before I had all my streaming stuff on one monitor and then I had games like on the other monitors. But I found it was just easier to just have them side by side on one monitor. Especially because I was spending a lot of time like kind of looking awkwardly off off camera. So it's a little easier to keep the games in front of me, so I'm actually kind of more facing the camera. It's also easier to keep track of both of the games simultaneously. Because I try and I'm still like in the early stages, but as you can probably tell by my schedule there, when there's German football on, I'll always have like a German football game on. But I'm really interested in in basically getting as much football as I can, and also specifically because like I'm interested to learn more about all of the other leagues other than Germany as well. So like getting some like obviously got the championship on my other screen here, or the up beside the Bundesliga game, and got a lot of Italian football tomorrow. Got the Manchester Derby. Um, Last week I had a couple of French games too. 100%. And I can say that pretty confidently too, because um I've been a fan of various sports throughout my life. Like even here, like this scarf. This is a Canadian football scarf. It's like Canadian gridiron. I don't know what the sort of colloquial term would it be. Got Geelong Cats. Got Australian football. Growing up, I'm in Canada, from Canada. Well, from Germany, but grew up in Canada. So ice hockey was a big thing when I was young too. And now it's hard for me to watch any other sport. Like I watched some of like I watched the sort of the Derby equivalent and for my Canadian football team, their big rivalry games were these past couple weekends, and like it's so much harder to watch any other sport than football. It's the only one that like I really genuinely enjoy watching now. There's the Frankfurt fans. I'm missing something. What team is one? There we go. Good stuff. Excellent choice. Excellent choice. If I'm I've lived in Winnipeg for most of my life, so you would think that I would have been a Jets fan. But it's funny because actually, when I was an NHL fan, I was actually a New Jersey Devils fan for no particular reason per se, other than like I liked a couple of the players and that got me into it. But Edmonton is an excellent choice. It's when I do watch, like when I occasionally check in and keep up with. Oh, wild shot. When I do check in on the NHL, like McDavid absolutely blows me away. The I mean, everything about him, the just ridiculous skill. But the thing that always blows me away is his incredible speed and acceleration. I've just like I'll watch highlights and he'll just be, he'll pick it up at his own end and he'll just be like through on a breakaway, having just blasted past the entire team like nothing. And also being of German descent and German football fan club, what have you. Um, I do like the Oilers also because they have Leon Draisaitl. And it's amazing. Like he's like I don't know 26 or something now, and he's already like far and away the best German player that's pretty much ever played the game. It seems like definitely a fun team to watch as far as NHL goes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he matches up against Crosby once Crosby is done and McDavid starts to move more. I guess he's still got quite a ways to go. But like, when Crosby came in, it was like, oh my God, Crosby's the next Gretzky, and then McDavid is just something else, just amazing. Oh, early chance for Ipswich in the first, just past the first minute. How are you feeling about Arsenal this season? They seem to just keep building a stronger and stronger squad. Ipswich and Sheffield really. I love the confidence. I do. And I mean, it's funny because like our Liverpool obviously spent a ton of money. I mean, pretty much all the big teams spent a ton of money, but everyone's talking about how Liverpool spent so much money. But it's kind of hard to argue with you because Arsenal already had a really amazing, well, I mean, already had an amazing starting 11. They had quite good squad depth, and it feels like they've made really smart signings to just basically plug up any little gaps there was left. Like the only way I can see Arsenal at least not solidly competing on all fronts is if they have some sort of special level of injury crisis. Man, Frankfurt just can't get out cleanly. Oof, yeah, 2006, that would have been kind of a tough time to get on board. But oh no, I guess they still had some good years. Yeah. But it was starting to kind of decline then. It is really nice to see Arsenal back where they belong. That was some tough years. I would be genuinely shocked if Arsenal don't. Yeah, yeah, man. Actually, they did their business like pretty steadily throughout the summer. So, but when you see those five names all together in one go, and then you add it to the really solid squad that they already had, like especially too because for all of the money and all of the talent and everything that Liverpool have accumulated, they still look quite vulnerable. And I mean, like obviously Arsenal, it's early in the season and everyone has, kind of needs to polish things out a little bit, especially with all the new players. But I mean, if Arsenal don't win a trophy this season, that would be really hard on them because like that just I mean, I don't know what more they need to do. Exactly, they have to win. Yeah, exactly. Also because Liverpool didn't get Guehi, if they have pretty much any injuries to that back line, they'll be in trouble. No more excuses. Yeah. Now, I'm not really one who believes that like trophies have to be the end all and be all, but because it is sort of a talking point, at least I mean maybe among like people who like other fans of English teams, less so than Arsenal fans these days, but like what do you think of Arteta if he can't get a trophy this season, if it just doesn't happen again? Yeah, I yeah, I was really I was worried for the Premier League if they got Guehi over the line. Imagine Guehi and Van Dijk. And then they already have Kanate, who apparently Real Madrid wants, so. Oh, graphic. It's hard to disagree with you. I like Arteta. I think he's a good manager, but I mean, when you give him that kind of backing, if he can't make it happen, then surely you've got to give someone else a try. Because like, even if just like even if it's not Arteta's fault, at some point you've got to just be like, well, we have an outrageously talented squad. Like, surely someone can get us a trophy out of this. Well, as a longtime Bundesliga watcher, I would endorse Oliver Glasner as the next best choice. I'll be curious to see if he's the next German manager. Actually, I'm not sure if he's German. He might be Austrian or Swiss. I think he's German. Anyway, he might be the next one out of the Bundesliga to get a hold of a big team. I already see Man United fans talking about him. Should Amorim get the sack? Ooh, that's a good question. It's quite possible. It's quite possible, especially because I don't think it's necessarily a particularly strong moment for any of the big international teams like now. Like at the rate that it's going, Germany might not even friggin' qualify for the next World Cup. Um, Spain look good at the moment, but their squad isn't as deep as it has been. And France, I don't know. France are always France. They could, they could do well, or they could crash out early. I could see it. I mean, I think Tuchel has the right mentality. Like I think he's the right kind of manager uh, to get England the World Cup. I think it might be more of a mental issue for England because although you know what, no, I mean to be fair, England haven't really generally had the best managers, so maybe having like a genuinely world class manager really could be the difference this time around. England certainly have the talent for it. I mean, I guess to be fair, they kind of always have the talent for it, but like they they're in a good period where they're kind of like they've starting to shed the old guard and bringing through young players who are already proving that they can do it. Yeah, that's fair. Can't rule out Argentina. It'll be also interesting to see with Brazil and Ancelotti. I mean, the guy's won everything everywhere, so I guess Brazil would be probably a good shout too. It's always tough with England because they always have the talent to win. And for all of the all of the hate it would seem that Southgate got, I do think like fundamentally his approach was not a terrible idea in that, he analyzed European football, or sorry, international football. He looked at what was, how countries won, and he tried that and he led them to success. But so maybe, if they take the solidity that Southgate built into the team and then they add the sort of technical quality and tactical quality of Tuchel, it'd be hard to bet against England. But there's some, there's probably five or six really good teams that are probably at the same level of quality, high quality managers. I mean, generally speaking, I would agree with you. I do think there is something to be said for the fact that he cleaned up the cultural mess that was the England squad. It's funny because honestly, again, I think like I would love to see Southgate be United's next manager, if for no other reason than I know it would make the Man United fan base like absolutely lose their minds. But I think that Southgate might actually be a good fit for United because like his whole thing was that he cleaned up the culture of England, and like maybe he could do the same for Man United, because I think Man United's biggest problem is that like literally the whole club is just like a cultural energetic mess. Like they're rotten from the inside and top down, bottom up, the whole works. So maybe someone like Southgate, I don't think Southgate would win anything with United, but he would maybe be the one who could clean up the disastrous dumpster fire that is the culture at Man United. Um, yeah. Whether he did anything for United or not, like I would personally that they continue to fail. Like I kind of want to see United relegated because the fans don't believe that United could be relegated, even though they were literally the only thing between them and relegation was the promotion teams pretty much last season. Because even Spurs probably would have finished ahead of them if they weren't so hungover from beating them in the cup final or in the Europa League final. But yeah, I don't hold Southgate in high esteem in terms of like as a tactical manager, but he seems to be good at cleaning up messes. I agree. I agree. I don't see where a win could come from for United, especially with Gigio in goal for City now. I don't think and also too because I know that City have lost twice, but in their first game they look like the old City all over again. So I'm hoping with a couple of weeks to patch things up, they'll give United an old school beating tomorrow. They'll just get up in Bayender's grill, and he won't be able to handle the pressure. He's dropping balls all over the place. Actually, I guess his problem is not even dropping them. He just kind of flaps at them. Oh, you bet United beat City. Oops, I misread that. I mean, there is a precedent for it. If United are to show up for games, like they showed up pretty decent against Arsenal in the opener, so it would be just like them to beat City and then go on to lose against Sunderland and Brentford most likely. how much rope do you think Pep's got left? Because I mean, it's he's done so much for City that it's hard. Yeah, as I say, it's hard to say that like even with how bad last season was and the bad start this year. I mean, he's done so much for them that it's hard to see them wanting to push him out. But their standards are so high now. Like at some point, I wouldn't even be surprised, honestly, if Pep is the one who decides to leave. Yeah, it is actually. I think that's one of the most interesting narratives about the Manchester Derby tomorrow is that they both have really difficult games afterwards. It'll be interesting to see how uh I mean, maybe ideally it would be a. I mean, I'm going to be partially watching the game, so I don't entirely want this, but maybe the best case solution would be a really dreadful draw that doesn't give either of them a boost. Oh, unlucky bounce for Schick there. Fair. I mean, it's tough because I think Reinders is. Oh, here comes. Is it penalty or dive? It's a penalty. Ah, man, that's got to hurt Frankfurt. Let's see. Oh, yeah, easy penalty, no question. I mean, a little bit dramatic of a fall, but I mean, what else is new? Definitely left his foot in. Man, what a dagger this would be. Easy as you like. He really is. I'm actually kind of with all of the outflow of talent from Leverkusen, I'm actually really surprised that no one took a punt on him. He's been sort of one of the most quietly consistent strikers in Europe for a couple of seasons now, and I know there was a little bit of interest in him, but it didn't seem like there was any real concrete, clubs that were really, really trying to get him. It seemed like it was just really passive interest, and he's probably going to be. My guess would be he'll probably be the third leading goal scorer in the Bundesliga this season behind Kane and Girassi. It's actually genuinely kind of surprising to me that United went for Sheshko over Schick because I mean Sheshko has probably a larger upside and obviously is younger, but Schick is a lot more Dependable. Go halftime. Hey, right on halftime, we got a goal at Ipswich too. Kane is an Arsenal fan. Wouldn't it be something if good goal, bad defending? Wow. What was Sheffield United doing there? It's one thing to stand off a player, but to stand off of him in the box. Wouldn't it be something if Bayern Munich ended up playing Tottenham in the Champions League? And now, when you say that too, I'm like, it seems hard to believe that he would. Yeah, I. It was funny to be seeing because like I saw Arsenal fans talking about how Sheshko and his agent were making it so hard and like the kept moving the goalposts and how he seemed more interested in making sure that Leipzig got a good deal than in securing a move for himself. And like I can appreciate a player wanting to I can appreciate a player wanting to, if he's been in the Red Bull system, whatever, wanting to get, treat his departing club well. But it was weird to me because I think Gyökeres is a far better striker and a far better investment, honestly, both in the short term and the long term. I think you guys definitely got the right one in picking Gyökeres over Sheshko. Scoreboard's caught up there. It's especially a weird choice for me in my like it's a weird choice in my opinion for United to go for Sheshko because they've brought in so many players who have I don't know what it is. I mean, you might say like sunk under the pressure, had all of their confidence torn out. So the immediate thing that I've noticed from what little playing time Sheshko's got so far is he looks really lacking in confidence already. I wouldn't be surprised. I honestly like I wouldn't be surprised if Gyökeres gets the golden boot because Arsenal are, they create so many chances, and it feels like the one piece that they've really been missing is that just like absolute class finisher, and that is Gyökeres is nothing if he's not a class finisher. I imagine you guys are probably catching Forest at a really good time too, with because like it's one thing the new manager bounce or whatever, but I feel like with Ange, it's not really gonna work that way with him because I feel like for Ange to work, he needs to get his players all on the same page and play in his system. So I'd be shocked if Forest are doing much for the first couple of weeks under him until he starts to get his system in place, get his shit set up. That was the thing. The only issues that I really felt that Arsenal had was missing the true number nine, and you absolutely have him in Gyökeres, and depth at center back, which now you also have excellent depth all across the back line. So it really shows like it is weird that they sacked him because like I understand that he had an issue with the manager or whatever, or I guess the or I should say had an issue with the owner. The owner had an issue with him, more specifically. And it's also really wild because like Nuno is pretty much like the most defensive manager in the Premier League, and then you replace him with a manager who's probably the most like aggressively attacking, or at least sort of like I don't because like I don't know, maybe attacking isn't the right way to put it per se, but like Ange plays such a wildly different style of football from Nuno. It just feels crazy to go like so wildly from one to the other, especially when Nuno, yeah, like gave them their best success since what, the 80s? And they're like, yeah, don't like you so much anymore. You're gone. Let's get someone who's totally, completely different. I mean, with the volume of players that Nottingham Forest constantly buy, at least he has probably a decent chance of if the squad doesn't suit his style of play, I could see them making like 10 signings in the January transfer window. But it's a great time for Arsenal to be playing them because I really don't think that that's going to be. I don't think they're going to get a bump right off the bat. I think they're probably going to look a little lost and confused. That's a good point. Chris Wood was like purpose built for a Nuno system, but he really doesn't seem to be what you're going to need in an Ange system, especially because Ange just seems to be kind of like Ruben in that like Ruben Amorim that he doesn't seem to be all that adaptable. He seems to have his thing that he likes to do, and that's what he's gonna do. Be interesting to see if Chris Wood literally gets dropped because he's a good finisher. He's a great finisher, or at least has been the last couple of years. But yeah, he's not exactly the dynamic forward that Ange seems to like. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess maybe if they use Wood as just kind of like a focal point and do lots of, rotation and stuff like that around him, maybe he's sort of just as the guy who stands in the box and when everything is done, and all the fancy interchange play and everything, then he's the guy who stands in the 6 yard box and taps in the finish, but otherwise it seems like he's not really well suited to that to Ange. Could be a pressing question too, because I know that Ange likes to press, or generally in the past has really liked to press aggressively high. So it'll be interesting to see whether Chris Wood is a fit for that either. Sometimes tomorrow. Oh, it's a shame that the Arsenal game is the. It's a shame for me. I don't know. Maybe it's good for Arsenal fans. I don't know, but it's a shame for me that the Arsenal game is the early one tomorrow because where I live, it's going to be a 6:30 a.m. kickoff. Which I mean, it's fine. I'll probably watch it while I get myself set up for the I guess in England it would be the 2:30 Bundesliga kickoffs. But I live in an apartment, so It's and have my setup here in an apartment. So 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning is a little bit too early for me to be up and streaming. Otherwise, because now that we've been chatting, I'm actually genuinely curious to see how Arsenal do against Forest. Oh yeah, are you in the States? Oh, that's super cool. I've only so far, this is my third weekend of streaming, and before you, I only had one other person who stopped to chat. Although, super awesome dude. He came and stayed, he was with me for like 5 hours last weekend on the Sunday, I think it was. And he was from the Bay Area, from like San Francisco, Oakland. I would not bet against that. I definitely would not. I is that also? Oh, also too at the Emirates. Yeah, I think you guys are gonna kill him. If I start my stream a little bit early, I might be able to just sort of pick up the last of it. But I usually turn on the 6:30 games while I'm having breakfast and getting all my stream set up and everything. So know which game I'm watching early tomorrow. I guess I before I came back for this weekend, like during the international break, I kind of overhauled my setup a little bit. I worked on my overlays and like my aesthetic and everything, and I got like sort of a new tried to go for sort of a different vibe because I had started this project and I had all these sort of like grandiose ideas and everything like that about what I wanted this to become, and I was like, in the international break, I was like, maybe I should just focus on just getting a few people to watch, and maybe my first goal is to have someone with me, like to have at least one person chatting with me, right, like through all of my matches. That's my first goal with this project is to just get like always have someone to talk to basically on stream. Um, but I'm gonna be covering like every weekend. It's great that you're in the same time zone as me because it makes it really easy for me. I don't have to do any mental time conversions. Um, every weekend all season I'll be streaming from like 8:30 a.m. right up until the end of like the European football day. So like tomorrow the last game will be Hanover and Hertha from the second division in Germany and Fiorentina against Napoli in the late game from Italy. And then like on Sunday from the 8:30 through till the last game will be the AC Milan Bologna game. That'll be through until about 4 p.m. So like obviously you don't have to Oh, thank you, man. I do really appreciate that. Especially now, because like it's tough when you're starting out and you're just kind of like, waiting around for really like anyone to pop in and chat. And so that is really encouraging. I do really appreciate that. Um, and so yeah, like obviously you don't have to come by for every game, but odds are if you're gonna be watching football, I will probably be streaming. So like if you anytime you want to pop in, you will be you will definitely be remembered. Oops, I missed my timer again. But yeah, you're always welcome here. It's always nice to have someone to chat to, but also it's super interesting. Like I'm really liking that because like I kind of assumed that I might. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And hey, I mean, if you if you're interested in the Union Berlin game, like in those sort of like in the 8:30 Central Time slots, I plan on uh or I only ever cover the German games because like that's the traditional German kickoff time. They usually have 4 or 5 games or whatever. But because I'm an Union Berlin fan, that's always the primary one to me. So if you're interested in Union Berlin and getting, seeing what that's all about, I will be doing. So I'll be doing their game tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, and it should be a really good one because they'll be at home, which is great. I think that their Union Berlin at home is one of the best atmospheres in European football because they have 3 standing terraces. Only their main grandstand is seated, and all the rest of the stadium is all standing. So they pack in like nobody's business, like 22,000 into a stadium that looked roughly the size of Bournemouth Stadium. So they make it real loud, and they could, the reason that I became an Union Berlin fan was because they were the first team that I encountered. I mean, there was a lot of reasons, but the biggest thing for me, I think, the thing that really sold them to me was that no matter what, the fans never stop. Like last season, they lost, I think it was 5-0 to Leipzig, and they had a player sent off, and like literally they let in the 4th goal in front, like right in front of the ultras end, and they didn't miss a beat. Like they were getting absolutely hammered, and the fans didn't stop singing for a second. It's like every time they let in another goal, the fans would just get louder. And I just absolutely love that. So for me, like watching, even and that's a nice thing about being an Union supporter too, is because it's like because of that, because the fans won't turn on them, that and that they'll keep the atmosphere up, they'll keep singing the whole game. It makes it so much easier because like they're not the best team, and they're kind of they had their moment where they made it all the way to the Champions League, but it's more going to be probably fighting relegation this season. But to know that like the atmosphere will never die, that the fans will keep, will be up and behind them every second of every match, home and away, that to me that was the biggest selling point to me for Union. That there's just like they never give up on their team, and that the whole thing is about being there for the team and not about like winning or losing or and I think because of that too, you always get a good performance out of Union. Even when they get slaughtered, they don't give up because the fans never give up, and it's just such a great feedback loop. Got the awesome. Well, I will definitely be excited to have you if you are able to stop by tomorrow. Um, yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. Football fans are the best in the world. It was actually really cool too because I had sort of like I have traveled to Germany a couple times, and like I've been to, man, that Frankfurt Pyro is smoking out the stadium. Um, I'd been to Berlin, like I'd been on a couple trips to Europe, and like every time I'd been to Berlin, and I just absolutely love Berlin. But like Hertha Berlin never did it for me. And I did see Union Berlin, but like they were in the second division, and there's really, it's really tough to follow a second division team here. Basically anywhere outside of Germany, it's really difficult to follow a second division team. And so when they came up in 2019, their first game at their stadium, and I'm pretty sure they were at home for their first game. They played Leipzig, and before the game, the fans held up like a whole bunch of like pictures of like loved ones and fellow fans and stuff like that who had never lived who didn't live to see Union make it to the first division because it was the first time they'd ever made it to the first division. And like, man, that got me. I was like, that's real, to to make it all the way to the top division for the first time, and to do a tribute like that for all of the fans, all of the Unioners who didn't survive to see that day. I was pretty hooked. And then they got absolutely clobbered by Leipzig 4-0 in that game. And the fans sang for 90 plus minutes. And I say plus because like they sing for a good half hour at least before the game starts. And they usually sing for a good 45 minutes after the game is over. And I was completely sold. And I've watched almost every single Union Berlin game in all competitions since then. Oh, turn that on. It was actually crazy too. Would have been 2022. Yeah. Especially too because for me, like to me, my favorite sport is football. Like I like this. I like I like the way that it is. I like the physicality. I like that it's basically like like a high intensity chess match. I like the. Whoa, there you go. Frankfurt's back in it. There's the start they needed. Paying off their traveling ultras pyro show. Got them inspired. Tough one for Flecken off the defender. That was the other one I was thinking of too. Uzun is definitely going to be a breakout player. In fact, like I think that was some of the best. Oh, that was some of the best business in the Bundesliga. I think getting Uzun and Doan. Uh, Good job to fill the gap left by Marmouche leaving, and Ekatike, of course. I was super lucky back in. I was gonna say before, I was super lucky back in 2000. Quite certain it was 2002, or sorry, 2022. Um, I would happen to be like I was going on a trip. I went on a trip to Italy. Oh, let's see, and he gets the final score. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. I'm gonna say. Ooh, I'm gonna say 3-2 Frankfurt. They seem to. They just aren't. Don't seem to be letting Leverkusen's goals Damn, cleaned out his own teammate. They don't seem to be letting Leverkusen's goals really get to them. Like, got that first goal against the run of play, second goal like right before halftime, and they just keep coming. So I'm gonna say 3-2 Frankfurt. What about you? Do you have what do you figure how do you figure this is gonna go from here? Oh. Well, Koch saved my score prediction right there. Yeah. Half time at Ipswich. Now I'm gonna as I say now I've cursed Frankfurt, but that was probably the worst delivery from a set piece in the game so far. Ooh. Oh, what a turn. How did Grimaldo stay in the Bundesliga? I mean, I'm glad that he's here, but damn. That looked offside. Good defending. There it is. There's the flag. Oh, I think Andrick might be off. I think Andrick is gonna be off. Yep, there it is. Let's see how bad this actually was. Oh, that. Whoa. Huh. It looked pretty clear cut yellow at the first viewing. I still can't quite tell whether he got the ball and it was just the follow through, but like that does seem a little bit harsh to me. I'm a big fan of Andre. He's a former Union Berlin player, and in my opinion, one of their best players in the modern era. But that is kind of the problems that you can get into with him. He's definitely an aggressive ball winning midfielder, but a little bit too loose that time. It is a bit sad that he gets sent off, given that the first yellow card was for that little tug on the keeper's arm in the first half. Now that 3-2 is looking. I was gonna say, I was literally about to say when it popped up that 3-2 is looking a lot better now. He got all of that. That would have really been a dagger for Leverkusen if he had smashed that one on in off the top of the bar. Uh, Union Berlin isn't playing any European football this year. They had a meteoric rise. They won promotion in a playoff against Stuttgart in 2018, and then I think it was they finished like 12th or 13th, and then they finished 9th the next season, and then they had Conference League football, and then the next season they had Europa League football, and then they miraculously got Champions League football. And then in their Champions League year, which I guess was 2 seasons ago now, they had literally like the worst season in the club's history. They and it's kind of been like last season they were it was much more of a needing to secure survival than competing towards Europe. So no European football this season, but it was a fun ride when they did have some. Especially because their first ever Champions League game was the first Champions League game at the Bernabeu in Madrid when they reopened it. The first Champions League game there was Union Berlin away, and they almost got a point out of it. Jude Bellingham scored in the 94th minute to win it 1-0 for Real Madrid, but it was that close to being most magical fairy tale. Actually, do I still? I actually have this scarf here. This one is from their Champions League run. It's absolutely unreal that yeah. They did so well too. They held on so well throughout the game. They barely created any chances, but they defended so well. And then right at the end, just like a loose ball, just kind of bouncing around in the box, and there was Jude to stab it in. Thank you. It's good to it's nice to have a reminder that forever that they were there. I don't really measure their success by European football. They're a little bit too small for that, but like to have been able to have found them and become a fan when it was just, that it was just cool that they had been promoted and they were playing in the Bundesliga at all. And then, 4 years later, playing Real Madrid at the Bernabeu to open the new stadium, or to, the reworked stadium. Man. What happened to Grimaldo there? Ouch. Here, actually, I'll be back in 1 second. I have an even better Union Champions League scarf. Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, I think that's why it was such a big deal too with the Super League. Because that's like it's the one thing that really sets it apart. If you have a Super League with no promotion or relegation, then it just basically becomes the NFL of football. Well, I mean, in this case I'll use the word soccer. The NFL of soccer. And I mean it was even great too, because like when Union were making their European run, if I remember correctly, in all 3 years that they qualified for Europe, they clinched their European position with a late goal at home. And like last season, it was the assistant captain or whatever, Ronnie Kadira scored in like the 89th minute, was the one that got them into the Champions League, like the 89th minute of the last game of the season. Yeah, it really would have too, because like it's one thing to have like the insane imbalances in money and stuff like that, but like clubs like Union Berlin show that like money really isn't everything. But if you lock it into a system where there's no relegation, then that's a totally different animal. It's interesting too because talking to the fellow from San Francisco, he was talking about how the USL in the States is actually moving to a relegation promotion system to try and bring them more into alignment with like how world football works. And last, or I guess 2 Sundays ago now, we were chatting about that, how like MLS is sort of building in the model of like the NFL or the NHL, just like franchises. Um, and USL is trying to build in the model of like a traditional football league. Exactly. Because again, like Union Berlin, it's funny to me when it like to in a sense like it's nothing against like English fans or anything like that, but it's funny to me when I hear fans of like um talking about like the money that's being spent and like, oh, we signed this player, and like again, because I follow United's drama, talking about like, oh, I've signed two 60 million pound players and a 70 million pound player, like that's not good enough. And I'm like, Union Berlin's record signing was Robin Gosens from Inter, and they got him for 15 million euros, and that was he is Union Berlin's record signing, and by more than double any other player they've ever bought. Like the amount that, for example, Man United spent on players just this summer is probably more than Union Berlin have ever spent on players in the entire history of the club. That's cool that Oklahoma is. Do you know if Oklahoma's team is going to be USL or what is it, MLS Next? I think is the other sort of competing league. That would be great if they could get. That'd be because it would be interesting because if it's USL, I mean, I see a lot of like obviously MLS is the big money situation in the States, but if Oklahoma was getting a USL team, that'd be pretty cool because that would be proper. I mean, MLS obviously brings the talent and like I one thing I will say for MLS is I do love like the fan culture in MLS for being an American corporate sports league. Um, the fans are fantastic in MLS, in my opinion. They're not quite Europe level, but they're the best in North American sport, in my opinion. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, here in Winnipeg, we have like a Canadian Premiership team that gets like 500 fans a game, and they play in like a 30,000 seat like Canadian football stadium. So I would if somehow Winnipeg could get in on the USL, that would be best case scenario for me in terms of like having a local team here. I mean, I have to agree. Especially as someone like for me, even more important than the quality of the football is the quality of like the atmospheres, the clubs, the community, the tradition, like all of that stuff. And that's something that, um, that's something like MLS and USL and whatever, they just can't buy. That's something that just has to be, it has to really be rooted for a good long time before you get anywhere near what European football is. Well, it's funny because I was gonna say I ran off and grabbed. I'm a bit of a scarf junkie. Um, so let's see. This is one from their Champions League run, Union International and German Königsklasse Champions League. That's a favorite of mine from their European days. And then actually, while I was in there getting that, I'm not a I'm not a I'm not a half and half kind of guy. I understand that people don't like the half and half scarves, but I had to get oop, doing messing up with the camera here. This was Union's greatest night in Europe, beating whoop, man, I really got to figure out the camera. They beat Ajax in the round of 16 in the Europa League over two legs, and at they won in Amsterdam. It's yeah, Bayern Munich's a bit of a complicated one for me because I do have to give them their due. One thing about it is I was actually raised a Bayern Munich fan, or I was born into a Bayern Munich supporting family, um, and so as a like as a kid when I didn't really know that much about anything, and also like being also like oh, I know. Oh no, I know, I know. That's why I couldn't do it anymore. Because like when I grew up as a Bayern Munich fan, so I was like, didn't think much about it. And of course, when you don't think that much about it, like they're successful. They have all the best players. Like I really like the players they had: Bastian Schweinsteiger, Philipp Lahm, Oliver Kahn, Manuel Neuer, obviously still around. Yeah. And it's actually funny too because like in Germany, Leverkusen are one of the least liked teams. Um, Before RB Leipzig, Bayern Munich was both the most loved and most hated team in Germany. They were like, because they have the most fans, but basically anyone who isn't a fan of Bayern hates Bayern. Now everyone hates Leipzig, so now they're the most hated club ahead of Bayern. But so it's funny because like Leverkusen are one of the non 50+1 teams because they got grandfathered in as like the company club of like Bayer Pharmaceuticals or whatever. So like generally speaking, people don't have any love for Leverkusen in Germany. But it shows you how disliked Bayern Munich are that like I feel like everyone or a lot of German fans, even traditionalists, were like, well, if somebody can knock Bayern off their perch, we will literally take anyone other than Leipzig. Oh yes, Robin and Robin and Ribery. Klose was another good one. Luca Toni way back in the day. Yeah, I was away from football for a while, and then when I came back, and like I came back caring a lot more about the like the integrity of football, about what German football is really about, like the fans, the community, the tradition, like and 50+1, the 50+1 rule preserving like fan control in it was such a big thing to me that I just like I came back and I was like I can't support Bayern anymore. Like they're so antithetical to oh, got a goal for Ipswich. They're so antithetical to everything that makes German football great. I think it's actually funny now too. They have they've had so many good players because for the longest time they just got to vacuum up all of Germany's talent. And now that England is wow, that looks like the same goal as the first one. Oh no, short side this time. Now that England is vacuuming up all of the Bundesliga's talent, now Bayern Munich are all butthurt about it. They're all like, "Oh, this is disgusting. It's gross. Like that. Oh, we can't. This is just like Newcastle. It's like playing Monopoly. It's so unfair." As literally every other team in the Bundesliga sits back and is like, "There, eat it, Bayern." Now you know how literally everyone else in Germany has felt for the last 30 years. They really do. I mean, and to think that it took like an invincible season from Leverkusen to uh to end the Bayern dominance for a year. It's just, and I mean, it goes deeper than that too. Because as far as I'm concerned, the one thing that really truly sets German football apart is the 50+1 rule and the fact that that gives fans a say, unlike as far as I know, unlike anything in any sport anywhere. Like I don't think, as far as I know, that there is any rule anywhere else that ensures that the fans and the club members have to have the controlling stake in the club. And Bayern Munich are at the forefront of trying to kill that. It's wild too that they were literally just one game away from a pre-competition invincible season. Only that Atalanta final. If it wasn't so sad, it would be fun to watch how much Bayern Munich are squirming this season because like they still clearly have the best squad in Germany, and most of their rivals have been stripped of almost all of their talent, like all of their, like key marquee talent. And Bayern Munich are like really worried, it seems like, that they're going to and I mean it's somewhat legit, but like they seem really worried that they're, a run of injuries away from being like not competitive, and I'm like, well, a run of injuries would actually give someone else a chance. Although I gotta say, Atalanta under Gasparini um, is another one of my faves. He's of course he's Gasparini's at Roma now, but I got into Italian football because of Atalanta and like Gasparini's Atalanta. So that was a great final. I did think that Leverkusen were gonna get the invincible treble, so it was really quite impressive that Atalanta of all teams were the ones who were able to put a stop to that. Also considering Leverkusen's nickname in Germany was Neverkusen because they had never won anything pretty much. To go from being Neverkusen to an invincible double is pretty damn good. Leverkusen were basically the Spurs of yeah, Leverkusen. They're basically the Spurs of the Bundesliga. I'm kind of running away on them. I'm surprised that Frankfurt haven't really been able to create much. I mean, it's not an inaccurate description. Absolutely. It's funny too because like it really now that you mention it, it does really look more like a basketball, doesn't it? I want to see that. Yeah, I mean they are chicken on basketball. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on their game tomorrow. They've got the semi derby against West Ham. And of course, now that you've said chicken on a basketball, like that's the only thing I'm gonna be able to think of now when I see Spurs logo because it is absolutely a chicken on a basketball. Oh, oh, He's gonna regret that one if oh, that was a beautiful cut inside. He's gonna regret that one if Frankfurt get back into it. It's such an easy layoff to the guy in the middle. I mean, West Ham looked good for the last 10 minutes against Forest. I mean, arguably probably the first time they've looked good this season, but is it it's at Milan? Okay, yeah. I back that. I like Bowen. I don't really have again, I don't really have an English team. My main interest is Man United's failure, but I have a little bit of a soft spot for West Ham. I would be happy to see them I'd be happy to see a Jared Bowen hat trick tomorrow. See if they can do it this time. Man, like 8 Frankfurt defenders and they're not closing them down. Ooh, 3-0 Ipswich. I mean, I guess if there was ever a time to have a really good 10 minutes, it'd be at the end of a game right before an international break. Maybe gives them something to work with going into the Spurs game. Wow. Wow, what a mess for Sheffield United. Terrible defending and even worse goalkeeping. Yeah, I do really like Thomas Frank. I mean, I understand as an Arsenal fan, it's not definitely not fun to see him go to Spurs. But what a likable guy. And I think too, like, especially sort of like after Ange, like I didn't have a problem with Ange. Good for him for getting them their trophy, but like after Ange, I feel like he's a good one to sort of settle things down and make it feel like a community again. Uh Not really. He's had so many injuries that I feel like I haven't actually watched him play in quite some time. When he first broke in at Bayern, I really, really liked him a lot because I thought he was just like one of the most absolutely electric players in world football. I don't like as much that he is now. He kind of like I. He reminds me kind of like a not toxic sort of Marcus Rashford figure now. Like it feels to me like for Davies, he's not. He seems to be sort of like attention split. He seems to have a lot of things he likes to do off the pitch, which is perfectly fine. Like he can do whatever he wants, but like I feel like he's more like a social media kind of player, and like I'm more of a keep your head down and work hard for the team kind of guy. So I love to watch Davies, but he's not a personal favorite of mine. And like I don't really have, despite spending most of my life in Canada, I don't really have much allegiance to Canadian football. Um, Most of my favorite players are. Do they almost have a fourth there? Holy moly! Most of my favorite players are German, and like I always followed the German team when I was younger, as opposed to the Canadian team. It's funny because I have very mixed feelings about Jesse Marsh. I think he's quite a likable guy, and I think Jesse Marsh is quite likable. Like I wouldn't be mad if like Union hired him. I think he's a really passionate guy. I think he likes to have a good connection with the fans, and like I can appreciate that. But I have mixed feelings because he's a product of the Red Bull system, and as like a diehard German football romantic, I hate all things Red Bull. So it's I have mixed feelings. Mixed feelings. As far as Havertz, I am actually a big Havertz fan. If I'm being real, I think since he left Leverkusen, he's never really been properly utilized. I think he's like I don't know why he got converted to being like a number nine or being a striker because like his magic at Leverkusen was as like sort of like in the role that Wirtz plays at well played at the same role after he left, and then also the role that Wirtz plays at Liverpool, where he's like I thought Havertz was magic as like a free floating 10. Yeah. It's funny too because until Red Bull got involved in football, I kind of liked them. Like I like the adventure sports stuff and like I like the cool stunts and stuff that they do. But I would have no credit. Oh, maybe there's still hope that the 3-2 is coming because this is getting crazy. Was that a straight red? What? Oh, okay, second yellow. Okay. Hopefully now that that's good. That's good. I feel like that was something he was missing. I feel like it worked for him to be like really lean in the Bundesliga, but going to England, I think he bulking up is important. Um, I haven't been able to watch Arsenal yet this season. Is he playing as a 10 now, or is he still playing as a striker? Because I mean, obviously you have Gyökeres now, so you don't really need Havertz. Come on, Frankfurt. Wow, that wasn't great. Oh, that's a shame. But I mean, it's good that he'll be back soon. It'll be interesting to see where Havertz. Oh man, Ipswich are just clobbering Sheffield. Damn, 4-0. Yeah, that's fair. If I mean, if he hasn't been playing, I guess you couldn't really know what he'll be doing with Gyökeres in town now. Happened here with the Ipswich goal. Oh, what a strike! More atrocious defending, but what a strike! They've just been giving those Ipswich players acres of space to pick their spot and shoot all night long. I really hope that Havertz gets to move. Like it's tough. It's a good problem to have now for Arsenal because like you guys have so much talent now that it's kind of hard to see because they like like who comes out of that midfield because like Odegaard, Zubimendi, and Rice, like that's got to be one of the best midfields in world football. So I don't, it's hard to see where Havertz even fits in, but at least also too, he's so adaptable. I feel like he could play he can play as a 10, he can play as an 8 in a pinch, he can play as a 9, or he can play as a striker. So, or as a winger, I should say. So, funny enough, I think his worst position, in my opinion, for Havertz is actually as a striker, as a 9. So if he can get a spot, like maybe some time in Odegaard's spot, or like sort of like if you have a rotation where maybe sometimes Rice plays deeper and Havertz plays in the more forward spot for Rice. Oh, Marino too. Oh man. Well, at least you're fighting on all fronts, so you'll have a good chance to put them all to use. Like I'm getting lost in how much talent Arsenal have now. Sheffield bottom. Oof. Well, I'll have to savor the Sheffield derby when it comes around because at this rate, Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday won't be in the same league very long. What a treat to be able to like, for example, bring off Odegaard and bring on Havertz, like bring off Rice and bring on Marino. I mean, and that's even assuming that like, because I'm like, how do you even choose? Like, what a ridiculous wealth of talent to have. Because I'm like, you could put together any combination of Odegaard, Zubimendi, Marino, Rice, Havertz, and probably even more. Yeah, also too, because he like most of your defenders can at a pinch play in most of the defensive positions as well. That's a good shout. That's a good shout. I mean, it especially because it really feels like Arsenal, like the one thing that really set them back, the one thing that kept them from trophies in recent years was a crucial injury at a crucial moment. Like because they lost, was it Saliba 2 years ago? They were, I think they did. Was it they didn't have? Oh, wow, wow, wow. Well, Leverkusen shut me and my prediction up. Holy man. Okay, my prediction is that Grimaldo is going to be the first player to be signed out of the. That's the one. Gabriel. Gabriel was the one that really hurt last season. Oh man, just imagine if Arsenal granted Grimaldo in January. Then there would, I mean, there really is no excuse to not win a trophy already. But like, man, if they added Grimaldo, you have like five amazing set piece takers, a left back who's probably one of the best strikers of the ball in the game today. Oh, if he has to leave, I would happily see him go to Arsenal though. I feel like he'd be a great fit at Arsenal. Damn. I mean, I again, obviously, I am a Bundesliga fan as it is, but I do have to say, even unbiased, having like I generally watch a lot of football, but now doing this, I've been watching. I've I'm watching like 15 hours, 15 to 20 hours of football every weekend now, and having watched like or at least kept an eye on every single Bundesliga game this season and also the German Cup first round games. The Bundesliga is just all goals this year and just stunners too. Like so many goals from like long shots, like really great hits, great free kick goals. Seen a lot of like really good volleys. It is definitely a fun league to watch, and it's overflowing with great goals and great performances so far this season. And if I can convert you to Union Berlin, even just as a secondary team, I mean, obviously I don't want to take Arsenal away from you. That wouldn't be right. But as far as the Bundesliga goes, always I would I've always loved to try and convert people to Union Berlin if they're open to it, because to me it's they're not the best team, but I think they're the best club, the best at the very least the best fans. And if you're able to even if you don't stop in here, even if you're just able to check out a few minutes of the Union Berlin game tomorrow morning, you'll get a taste of what you'll have it get a taste of what the atmosphere at their Stadion an der Alten Försterei is like. It's truly unique, certainly in the big leagues. Over to watch the end of Ipswich kicking the shit out of Sheffield United. Honestly, I wouldn't want you to be pulled away from Arsenal either. I think it's good to stick with your club through thick and thin. I mean, obviously, I gave the explanation of how I ended up abandoning Bayern Munich and why, but Arsenal is a different thing, and like the Premier League is a different thing. So like, I wouldn't want you to get pulled away from Arsenal, but I think you're really going to enjoy the Bundesliga, and I think especially if you can appreciate like the fans and the atmosphere, I think you're going to really like Union Berlin. Um, they're not necessarily the most entertaining team to watch, but they've got a lot of heart, and they've got a. It's always fun to watch because even when they're away, their traveling support will usually outsing most home supports. So like even if it's like they could be away at, I mean, aside from maybe the big ones like Dortmund, they could when Union are away, it's usually their fans that you'll hear singing even when they're losing. So I just can't beat that in my opinion. I mean, hopefully he was watching that because, I mean, I don't even know if Arsenal really need Grimaldo, but like, damn, if you take Arsenal and you add Grimaldo, damn. It's funny actually too because Bayern play Hamburg tomorrow, and that's one of like that is one of the traditional great like that's it's one of the traditional great rivalries of German football back from when Hamburg, like, because in the 80s there was a time when Hamburg were bigger than Bayern Munich. Um, but in the last like 12 games, the oh my god, 5-0 Ipswich. Wow. Um, and what what depth that would be too to add. Yeah, it's Bayern and HSV are one of the great traditional rivalries of German football. But like I saw a little like graphic of like the last 12 or 13 times they've met, and the what do you call it, aggregate score over those like 12 or so games is literally like 70-4 or something for Bayern Munich. Like it was like 8-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 5-0, 4-1, 5-0. So it's a shame because it should be a great matchup tomorrow between Bayern and Hamburg, but it's oh, that was what a great signing that was for Hamburg. That was probably like one of the best signings to coming into the Bundesliga. There's someone to cheer for extra hard against Bayern. Also, that said too, like Bayern have looked really good and they're by far have the most talent of anyone in the league, but like their last two games they've struggled to put their opponents away, so you never know. Hamburg will be up for it. Yeah. Second one too. I think it was the third goal was also a nutmeg on the keeper. The yeah, that's fair. That is one of the things because like people always talk about how like the Premier League is the best league. And I mean, there's obviously a very strong argument to be made for that. Like, I mean, in terms of money, they definitely are the biggest league, and because of that, they obviously have the most talent. Like, I obviously it's like it would be insane to argue that the Premier League doesn't have the most talent in it. Like, that would just be stupid. But it is interesting because it's like you see some players, and it's just like like Fabio, like he's a great player, but yeah, he's just clearly not suited to the Premier League. It's too physical. And like it's nothing against him either because I don't know, that's why I love watching football from all over Europe and all over the world is because like well, see, it's interesting because like I actually saw a video one time because it depends what your parameters are. If you like in terms of like again, in terms of like money, talent, like yeah, like again, no argument. I would agree with that. But it is interesting to me because I would say, for example, like, because I saw a video once that actually argued that the second division in Germany is the best overall league in the world. And, like, I know that seems like a huge stretch, but it is interesting because in the second division in Germany, they have um, half of Germany's giants are now in the second division. They have better stadiums than most first divisions in the league, like in terms of like overall infrastructure. Ticket prices are low. Most games sell out. The atmosphere is like off the charts. It's I think rated like the 12th best in terms of like a coefficient or whatever, so like quality of play. And ticket prices are like a quarter of what it costs to go to a game in the Premier League. So like if you're just talking like quality product, like okay, I'll give it to the Premier League. But the thing is too is that the Premier League style of play is like it's English football. It's very physical, it's very fast, it's very aggressive, but it doesn't leave a lot of room for technical quality. And I think that's where a player like Fabio Vieira struggles because in Spain his technical quality would shine because it's a slower, it's more about controlling the game, about controlling the pace. And in a league like England, like a player like Fabio Vieira is just too small, too slow. um, because it's like, for example, like players like Tony Cruz and Luka Modric, like, could they have done it in the Premier League? Of course they could have. They're legends. But I think there's a reason they picked Spain. It is because it played to their strengths. Like they're good enough to play in any league, but Tony Cruz, like because of how Spain is about dominating possession and controlling the tempo and controlling the flow of the game, like both Modric and Cruz were absolutely phenomenal at controlling games, and they could do it in a way in Spain in a way that they can do it probably in the Premier League because of the physicality. And like Italy is all about like tactics and teamwork and like technical quality and things like that. So it's I think people talk about Italy being like slower and more defensive, but it's like that's their heritage. That's what they do. They're a defensive league first and foremost. Yeah. And like all great Spurs, all of Spurs' greatest players, he ended up leaving to a super club. And I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I imagine that's probably. I mean, of course, it was Real Madrid, so like, of course, if you're at Spurs, who wouldn't trade Spurs for Real Madrid? Like, that's a no-brainer. But I don't think he was. I don't think he was well suited to it. And now he plays for Milan, and I've seen Milan play a couple times this season. And even at 38, he looks great. And it's like, so it's like, I totally get the argument that the Premier League is the best league. There's lots of reasons why that's true. But I like Italy and I like Germany and I like Spain personally more than the Premier League because I feel like it lets the magical players do magical things in a way that is really difficult in the Premier League because of like how fast and intense and physical it is. Like that's appealing to me. Like I was a hockey fan. I was also, Canadian American, NFL, CFL fan. So like I like physicality and speed and intensity and all of that. But I'm like when people think of the magical players like Maradona, and Pele and whatever, um, even someone like Mbappe, I mean, maybe he's not the best example, but like, I like leagues where the special players can do special things, and while that's obviously not excluded from the Premier League, I feel like leagues that are a little bit slower and more technical allow the magical players to do magic a little bit more often. Exactly. That's I agree, and so that's the thing. Like, I would never really argue that like the Bundesliga is the best in terms like I don't know if like every like you say like every league has their own thing, and so it kind of depends what you want. It depends, it also depends year to year. Like sometimes a league is just really not good for a year. It just doesn't click. Yes, I will definitely agree with you on that. And I will definitely agree, oh, almost six. Jesus Christ. I think that is a genuine like that's a very genuine argument for the Premier League. Like the level of talent there and the level of money. In some ways, to me, it's kind of gross because it draws all the talent out of the other leagues. But it does certainly make for that. Like you can watch any two Premier League teams play, and anything could happen. And especially now, like even like of course there's a few moments here and there where like City or Liverpool were just running away from everyone else for a year. But even like at the height of like the Liverpool City rivalry, both of them would still lose on occasion to a Wolves or a Brighton or what have you. So like in terms of competitiveness and like high quality teams going head to head, you're definitely right. The Premier League will give you that like no other league. Definitely give us that. Man, I can't keep up with Ipswich Town's goals. But that's also too why like in doing a like a German forward um, YouTube channel or watch along thing. That's why I wanted to include England, France, Italy, as many other leagues as I could because I'm like it's fun to watch and to see what the differences are and like what makes Italy special, what makes England special, what makes Germany special, what makes France special. In a sense, though, again, I mean, to be fair though, with the Premier League, it's because of the money, though, to a certain extent. To like because they've had 30 like to me like the Premier League is the essentially the original Super League. Now I won't be that derogatory because like obviously they have promotion and relegation and so like that is a wildly different thing. Like they're not a Super League in the sense that they're not like a disgusting closed off uh league where you don't have any promotion or relegation, but like when the Premier League came in and they started to like make the money started to get ridiculous, like I feel like that's why it can be so competitive. And I mean, it's not England's fault or the Premier League's fault that Bayern are so dominant, or Juventus, or Real Madrid, or Barcelona. Um, but at least for me, like, it's being a Bundesliga fan, I basically almost don't really care about the title race anymore, which is kind of sad. Like, that's definitely not a plus for the Bundesliga. But because it's basically like it just is Bayern, and maybe occasionally one or two teams will compete with them until the last few weeks of the season or whatever. But like it's always Bayern. But like I just like watching everything else. Then I'm like, who will get Europe? Who will get relegated? Same with Italy. Although Italy is actually also very competitive now that Juventus have had their grip broken. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. It can be tough starting out because, like, again, like I said, I've only before you, I only had one other person who was with me for like an entire game. It makes it a million times better to have someone to chat with. And yeah, I'll be here every weekend for the rest of the season. Basically streaming all day, 8:30 a.m. until the European games are done. So I really appreciate the vote of confidence, and it's been super fun chatting with you, and I look forward to sharing an Union Berlin game with you before long. And I'm glad that you got such a good one. That was a, for being such a sort of weird game with the red cards and stuff like that. It was that was a solid game, and I mean Grimaldo, if nothing else, made it worth the watch. Oh, thank you so much, buddy. You definitely made my day too. It was super fun hanging out with you for that game, and I definitely look forward to having you around again. You are now officially like one of the OG of this channel. So I'll definitely recognize you anytime you come back. Hopefully tomorrow, but whenever you're free, whenever you come back, I'll be real happy to see you again. I really appreciate having you in for the match today. It made it 1,000 times funner. So I hope you have a great day too, and I'll see you around. See you at the end of. Peace, brother. Whoop. Whoop. There it is. Ha. I'll see you on the next one. Just gonna see you at the end of the shit kicking here, and then that'll be the end of it for me too. That's all she wrote in Ipswich. Wow, that was a bit of a ass kicking. All right, that's all she wrote for today's football. Leverkusen, despite being down to 9 men by the end, 3-1 win on the back of a pair of Alejandro Grimaldo free kick goals. Off and flying. Be exciting to watch him. Probably one of the best talents in the Bundesliga this season, Grimaldo. Ipswich Town absolutely clobbering Sheffield United today. It was a secondary game, so I didn't keep too close an eye on it, but it just looked like an absolute mess from Sheffield United, and Ipswich were all over them. So that is all for today. Tomorrow we've got Union Berlin hosting Hoffenheim to open the day. That'll be the 3:30 CET, 6:30 Central Time in North America, the traditional Bundesliga kickoff time. So we'll have Union Berlin hosting Hoffenheim. Freiburg against Stuttgart will be the secondary match there, but we'll be keeping an eye on all of the 3:30 kickoffs, of which there will actually be 5 of them tomorrow in the Bundesliga. In the top spiel, Saturday night top spiel from the Bundesliga, Bayern München hosting their old rivals, Hamburg, as Hamburg fans have been known to say. It's not been so much matches as executions the last little while. Bayern have pretty comprehensively destroyed Hamburg about 10, 12 games in a row now, but Hamburg doing some good transfer business. It'll be interesting to see. They have if I remember correctly, a draw and a loss, lost in the derby to St. Pauli in their home opener last game, but that was a great game, great atmosphere. Interesting to see. Bayern seem like they should have had it all their own way, but they've have struggled a little bit to get games over the line, so we'll have to see. It should be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Bayern annihilate them, but that's what I would have thought about Wiesbaden as well. And they play Augsburg last game, so it might be more competitive than I think. If that's no good, we'll also be covering the Derby d'Italia from Italy. Juventus hosting Inter Milan. That should be a great game. Keep an eye on that one if Bayern Munich HSV isn't so great. And in the nightcap from Germany, Hannover 96 will be hosting Hertha Berlin from the second division of German football. And going away, doing a away day, get the Italian nightcap to end the coverage tomorrow. Fiorentina hosting Napoli. Be a good one. Keen to keep an eye on Napoli. 2 wins to start the season. Then on Sunday, we open with the 3:30/8:30 kickoff, St. Pauli against Augsburg in the Bundesliga. Keep an eye on Atalanta Lecce from Serie A as well. Gladbach and Bremen are the final Bundesliga match of the weekend. Good game from Gladbach. Should be a great atmosphere there between 2 of the great traditional teams of Germany, Borussia Mönchengladbach and Werder Bremen. And while we keep an eye on that one, we've also got the Manchester derby, Manchester City hosting Manchester United. And the nightcap to end the weekend on Sunday, we back to Italy. AC Milan hosting Bologna. Should be a great game, great atmosphere there. Two European quality teams. Bologna actually finishing higher last season, if I remember correctly. That's the whole weekend looking ahead. We'll be back tomorrow morning here, tomorrow afternoon in Europe for Union Berlin against Hoffenheim and the 3:30 Bundesliga kickoffs. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Travis Grooms, legend of the chat, keeping me company. Had a great conversation all day today. Hopefully see him again tomorrow. And all the best to all of you. Remember, football as community. It's community, not commodity. Football at its best. Love y'all. See you tomorrow.